Hi, welcome to Tweaks with Tweak. I'm Tweak. Some time ago I was at my chorus practice and I used my cell phone to record during those sessions so I can play back and listen and learn my music. Holding it in my hands, it got cumbersome and I was tired of hanging on to it for 3 hours. So somebody told me about iPhone holders you can purchase, so I did. And what they do is they hold your phone. What I didn't like was attached to these holders was a lanyard made of the same fabric. It wasn't pretty, so I decided I'm going to tweak it. So I started playing around with beads and creating my own lanyards. And it was really fun because I could go with different colors. I could go with lanyards that matched the outfit I was wearing or the seasonal event I was at. And today I'd like to show you how to put together your own iPhone holder beaded lanyard. It's very fun. Join me. Playing around with beads and designing your own lanyard does not have to be an event that you do by yourself. It can be very fun. Gather people around, have them bring something to contribute to whatever design you come up with. Sporting events, you could do lanyards in your colors. And seasonal events, you could do wintertime, springtime, any season. You could design these to go with your outfit. Now, wouldn't this look nice with what I've got on today? You can also have some fun with kids. There again, sports teams, groups that they're in. So once you decide what kind of bead you want to use, oh my goodness, the selections. This one has an iridescent quality to it, and I fell in love with that. There's a really, really charming little dog and body bead there that you string together. And if you like dogs, cats, almost any kind of bead you could find is out there in the world. Find it, put yourself together a pretty lanyard. You could make them with your friends or make them just for yourself. Ooh, look at that one. Ooh, that one's really sparkly. The sky's the limit. What you can find out there, you can turn into your own lanyard. To create a signature lanyard that's all your own, you first need to find your beads. It's snowy, it's wintry out, and I had some beaded snowmen, so I decided I'm going to make a snowman lanyard to complement the weather. Once you decide what you want to make, find your complement of beads, and I came up with this design. I just used a dummy piece of string to play around with the beads and put them in a design line that I liked. And then I'll repeat this pattern on the lanyard, so let's get started. First we need some wire, and we need a couple feet of wire, and we need a wire that's strong, pliable yet strong. We're going to take our wire and we're going to take out a piece and put it around my neck to see where exactly I want the lanyard just about to drop and to hold the holder for the iPhone. So then I make a snip and I have the wire I need to continue on with the lanyard. The wire is kind of wiggly, so I use my scissors that I won't be using for a while, and I use that to just hold it in place and make it a little easier. We start by attaching the lobster claw clasp. Here's how we do that. We take a little tiny bead, it's called a crimp bead, roll it onto the wire. This bead is very pliable, and I'll show you in a moment. And you take your lobster claw, add it too. You've got the two sitting next to each other. Now we take the piece of wire, go over the claw and through that little teeny bead. And you've got an X form. Makes an X as the two wires go through. Now I want a loop next to the lobster claw clasp, but I don't want that big of a loop. So I hang onto the bead and I pull the wire towards me until I get a loop that I find is a good length. Then you take your pliers, put it on that crimp bead because we're going to crimp it, and give it a good solid squeeze. And you end up with an attachment that turned out really well. And now you can start stringing your bead design. Now that we have those two all in place, you can give it a bit of tug and you can see that's going to be strong, that's going to hold. Now we get to start loading up our bead selection. I want to first take a bead, it's got a larger hole in the end of it, but I take a decorative bead and I string that down, and the purpose of that bead is simply to hide the little extra wire that's there. Disappears. See that? And once you've done that, then you can start designing your pattern. So I have my lobster claw, my crimp bead, the bead to hide the excess wire. Now I can begin stringing the beads. This is the fun part. I have a pattern set aside, so I'm going to use that pattern as a guide as I string the beads onto the lanyard. So I start with the green, and here we go. Some of these beads, it's hard to find the and then we've got black, and we've got a pearly. Oops. Beads do run. They roll away as fast as you can drop them. And then I repeat down back to the pearl. Pearly bead, black bead, snow bead, that's what I call it, and another green bead. This is the time you let it run down to the top of the lanyard, and this is when you decide, do you like the pattern you created? I do. It's very cute. So I'm going to repeat this pattern all the way the length of the lanyard. So I've repeated my pattern. I've come to the end where I want to finish off, add the last lobster claw clasp, and then we'll be done. I'm pinching tight on the beads to make sure there's no gap between them and the first lobster clasp. And that looks good. And I'm using the end here as a guide, so I need to line them up. I'll place one more snowy bead. Kind of hard to find it, but there it is. Then we want a green and a black. Then I want that hidey bead, that's what I call him. That will hide the wires. And now we've come to, there's excess wire here, that's okay, we're gonna need that. The crimp bead comes next. Put the crimp bead on. We're down to that. Now, put the lobster claw clasp on and try to keep it tight so the beads don't slide any more than they have to, because this ending is going to be a little bit tricky. You want to take the wire end and push it through. Actually, I'm going to try to push it through several beads. It's going through the clasp or the crimp bead, through this decorative bead, and I've come down 2 more beads further. That's good. So just gently pull it through, not all the way. See what's happening here? We're bringing the lobster clasp closer to the beads, but we don't want a gap. So we push on the beads, get them tight again. Just using my fingers to push on the crimper bead a little bit. And have just a little bit of a hoop there, a nice space between the clasp and the crimper bead. And this excess is going to be hidden in the bead so you won't see it. So I've got a design there. I've got a space that I like. So I'm going to take my pliers and crimp that crimper bead. Nice, strong pressure. Count to 3 or 4. Got it. And there's your ending. Clip this off. I'm going to clip it not tight close, leave a little bit of space because we want to tuck that end into the next bead. Crimped it off, tuck it into the hole of that snowy bead, and there you have it. It's all tucked in. It's all looking great. Now let's see how it looks with a lanyard holder on it. You just take the lobster claw, open it up, hook it in, open it up, hook it in, and there you have it, your own personalized lanyard. Let's see how it looks. Oh, and it hangs nicely too, right about where I want my iPhone to sit. Beaded lanyards can be created for any function. You can go from high style sparkly to functional iridescent. You could gather a bunch of people together and make up lanyards for your sports team or for your church group or your choir. It's all up to you as to how much fun you want to make it. I think it's fun. So we've purchased our holder, we have our iPhone. It's attached, and that hook on top is where you hang your lanyard. Oh, the necklace I've been wearing was actually a lanyard. That's part of the fun, because if you're not using it for this purpose, You can use it for other decorative purposes. Put that on, ready to go sing. If you've enjoyed what you've seen today, give us a like, subscribe to our channel, and leave comments in the comment section. I'll see you again soon.